Greetings, Guardians. My name is Bife, and today we'll be talking about Marasov's OnlyFans. No, I'm just yanking ya. Hi, I'm Fallout, filling in for my good friend Bife, who apparently lost his voice, probably from eating too much beans on toast. Today's video is going to be our first little exploration into Warlord's Ruin, and we're going to use it to talk about the beginning of this story. This is your spoiler warning. Still here? Good. We're literally going to be diving into the biggest story beats right off the bat because that's the best way to start telling this story. So if you haven't gone through the dungeon, and in particular if you haven't completed the quest attached to the dungeon, be sure to go ahead and get through that first. We're actually not going to start the story at the very beginning. Instead, we're starting from the end, from the moment that we first defeat the final boss of the dungeon, the Blighted Chimera. When we're up at the pinnacle of the abandoned ruin and we finally banish the chimera of the Ahamkara at the center, we are beckoned forth by the remains that appear on the ground. It's very clear that these are the bones of an Ahamkara. Hefend.
This is all that remains of the Ahamkara then. Even like this, in its silence, it could move worlds. The damage the Scorn could have caused had one of them realized what they possessed. We'll secure the bones and make sure this can't happen again.
Yeah. This makes me a little worried about the hidden cost of our deal with Riven.
That thought has crossed my mind.
Petra, I've never apologized to you for what you're still going through.
There's no need. It wasn't you.
I'm sorry. He is too. Completely. If I could wish it away.
No. You're helping break the cycle. That should be more than enough.
Crow and Petra might have come to a wholeheartedly amicable dialogue, but they weren't in contact with the remains of the Ahamkara. Hefend's remains now whisper to us through each of the quest steps and compel us to retrieve more of their remains scattered across the mountain. As we retrieve these remains, a picture would start to form of a tale that spanned ages. A tale that starts with warlords and ends with guardians. Crow and Petra make first mention of those warlords when we're partway done retrieving the remains of Hefend.
You know, you sit around enough campfires with Saladin, and you hear about castles like this. There was this warlord in the Dark Age named,
Don't start.
Naeem. She drank with a warlord who'd felled a shape-shifting beast. He led her to the beast's lair, a castle in snowy peaks. Inside was a skull that whispered promises. I always thought Saladin was just blowing smoke.
You found your people. Guardians do love their myths and stories.
So there were two warlords in question. One who had slain the Ahamkara and one who sought out its remains and heard whispers from its skull. The slayer of the Ahamkara will be the topic of another video. Ooh, sounds like you should subscribe to watch that one. As for the one who would go to discover the skull, her name was Naeem. Her story and the story of the dragon she sought out is a somewhat tragic one, at least if Saladin's tale is to be believed. But we can tell a little more about this tale thanks to the spoils from this dungeon. In particular, Zyra's shell. The ghost shell from the dungeon, the lore tab of which reads as follows. For ghosts who follow their debt taker. Cold swept down from frigid mountaintops against already old stones of a Dark Age castle. Winter slicked the ramparts as night fell across the European expanse. Naeem stood at a long and narrow bridge, helmet shielding her face from deafening wind and the stinging snow. She'd left her blood-stained fingertips in old Russia, gone west until they no longer called her warlord. Here, she had heard the Lightbearers hunted and felled a dragon. Maybe some of its magic remained, enough to start anew. She followed the whispers through the storm and rubble, ran her fingers over scars in the stone. This was the place the old warrior had told her to go, and so she pressed deeper into the keep until the whispers turned to words and the bones of a great beast laid at rest before her eyes. She approached the skull at the center of the skeleton. Dragon Ahamkara. The language that filled the room ceased to be ambient, their attention focused on her. They drew desire from her heart and passion from her blood. She spoke as if by instinct. I wish for your kindness. The whispers twisted into hissing laughter. She almost felt the skeleton's anticipation vibrating through its dry, hollow marrow. Then it spoke to her. Kindness. There is so little left and the cost so high. The gulf between your want and your reality, this is truly what you wish for? I've spent my power poorly, like you, to survive. That is why they hunted us, killed us. Naeem stepped forward slowly. Wouldn't you rather to be loved than feared? The Ahamkara bones were silent in consideration. I know the Lightbearer who slew you. I know you respect their determination, Naeem pressed. Grant me kindness. Let us share that kindness. Let us make them love us as much as we were feared. The voice focused again. Charity does not sate my hunger. Then do not be charitable. Let me face the debts of your wishes while those who benefit live freely. The voice hissed and cackled. You would take their debts upon your head. I have as many lives to give as the weight of their debts. Naeem placed a hand on the skull. Your wish is granted. It might be a little bit unclear from the lore tab alone, but it seems that Naeem was looking to escape her reputation as a warlord and to make amends for the wrongs that she'd committed in her past. Crow expands on this again as he recounts more of her tale.
Uldren had history with the House of Kings. That's what led to the scorn in the first place.
I'm familiar with your history, but the banners here are ancient.
Like from the Dark Age? You know that warlord? The skull promised her anything she wanted. She offered that promise to surrounding villages. For tribute, of course. Brokered their wishes and protected against consequences. Naeem's reputation spread until... Any guesses, Petra?
She drew attention from the House of Kings, who coveted this power.
In the time between her first meeting with Hefend and her death at the hands of the Fallen, she would work hard to provide the benefits of wish magic to those within her new territory, whilst shouldering the cost of these wishes herself. But unfortunately, as Crow said, the consequence of such power put on display would be that the Fallen descended upon the warlord's ruin and faced her in battle. Her specific death came at their hands, but in her last moments, Naeem would reach out to her friend to make one last wish. Hefend, in his eagerness, would oblige.
Naeem and Hefend, that's the Ahamkara's name. They'd become friends. Pretty tragic, actually. Saladin said their bond was like a mutual domestication. But it wasn't long before the House of Kings stormed the castle.
When the kings came, I take it Naeem didn't survive them?
No. And in her final breath, she wished ruin on their house. That her vengeance follow them into the grave. Very particular wording.
The specific wording matters a lot when it comes to wishes. An Ahamkara can manipulate the wishes of anyone who makes a wish near them. In this instance, vengeance following the House of Kings into the grave is something exploited by the fact that we now see Scorn in front of us now. To understand why that wish is now being enacted, you need to understand that Scorn are undead fallen. Fallen who have died and risen again. The Scorn that we see here are all members of the House of Kings. This is why whenever we go through the dungeon, we're referred to as O Vengeance Mine by Hefend. We are Naeem's vengeance made manifest thanks to the power of wish magic. The House of Kings that we took vengeance against and the dragon cult that arose from them are the topic of our next video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my friend Bife, and maybe if you're not too busy, check out my channel sometime. In the meantime, my name has been Fallout. Per audacia ad astra. I'll see you Starside.